Let go. This is my opportunity, okay? Let it go, let it go. Oh yes, that feels good. So glad I got to preach one of these so I could do that. Yeah, so we're preaching a series called Let Go. Letting go of control over things and our rights to things so that we can truly be released into the freedom and the fullness of life that God has for each one of us. And Mark has preached twice now. First he preached about letting go of offence. And that was a really good message, a really tough one. And I'm sure many of us have been offended since and thought about that message. I hope it's helped you to deal with offence, not holding the right to think badly or talk badly about others. And then last week he talked about letting go of your mask, and how, while it's good and we should have as Christians a good reputation, it's not something that we need to be striving for and pretending with people in order to create this superficial reputation, but that we can let down the mask and we can be truly honest. And there's a freedom that comes with that. So this week, we're looking at letting go of our future. Our future is one of these other things that we really like to control. We don't like uncertainty, do we? We like to know what's going to happen later today, tomorrow, the week after that. We like to make plans because we like a certainty about our future. And there's nothing more uncomfortable and unnerving for us when there is uncertainty in our lives. Maybe it's uncertainty over the future of our job, maybe it's uncertainty about our health. Whatever it is, we feel incredibly uncomfortable with uncertainty. And so we take many measures in life to try and secure our future. We work hard at school, or maybe some of us do, some of us don't, because some of us aren't bothered. But we're meant to work hard at school because we're helping towards our future to make sure that we can get a good job. Because if we get a good job, then we'll have money. If we have money, then that'll enable us to have a good future. Is there anybody here that would like to have a bad future? Would you like to raise your hand if there's anybody in here? No. Nobody wants a bad future. Everybody wants a good future. And so we work very hard at trying to secure that good future in many different ways. Maybe like Mark, you want to be healthy in your future. And so you go to the gym regularly and you swim and you just do all these sorts of things. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're more like me, who hasn't been swimming for the last 3 weeks, which Mark keeps reminding me about. So we like to secure our future. And today we're going to look at how actually that is not a kingdom principle. That's the way the world thinks. But actually, when we look at what Jesus taught and what we read in the Bible, we find the complete opposite to that. That we're not meant to run around controlling and trying to worrying and trying to secure this good future for ourselves. But actually, instead, we need to let it go. Let it go. Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, he talks about not worrying about the future. And he says in Matthew 6:31 to 34, do not worry what you will eat, what you will drink, your clothes, and so on. Do not worry, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. We're not to worry. We're not to try and control and run around making sure that everything in our future is exactly as we want it to be. We're to let go and actually focus on Jesus, focus on seeking his righteousness, seeking after his kingdom, and rest and trust that actually all these things will be given to us. All these things will be added to us. And I often remind myself of this verse when I'm starting to get anxious about these things: food, clothes, finance, health, all these sorts of things. Remind myself, actually no, let it go, let it go. And that's one of the famous scriptures about not worrying about the future. But I don't actually want to focus on that today. I actually want to look at a particular person in the Bible that I think we can learn a lot about. And that is the disciple Peter. Now, Peter, I love Peter. He's such a fascinating character. And as I've been studying for this sermon, I've been sort of going back and all through the Gospels and piecing together all the bits that we learn about Peter and his journey. Now, Peter, he was a fisherman, and he was called by Jesus. He became one of his disciples. He was one of the 12. And actually, Peter was even in a closer core group than the 12. He was part of the 3 that often Jesus would take along with him when the others weren't invited. We always like to be the VIPs, don't we? Even the smaller group. So he was right there with Jesus at the Transfiguration in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was one of the chosen ones, you know, really up close to Jesus. And he loved Jesus. And Jesus loved him. That's something very, very clear. But Peter, he was one of these people who got things right and got things wrong. And that's why I wanted to choose him, because often when we look at people in the Bible and we look at things, we can focus on those that got it all right and not those that got it wrong. And I want today, not for you to feel, because some of the things that I'm going to say are quite strong and challenging things this morning, but I don't want you to go away with a feeling of like, oh, well, I've already failed. Oh, there's no hope for me then, Liz, really. What you're saying is it's just too hard. Just be encouraged. Remember that Peter had some catastrophic failures as well. And be encouraged that even so, he went on to be a central figure in the development, establishment of the early church. He's this great figure, the Apostle Peter. So keep that in mind as I bring some more challenging things later, that even if you feel like, oh, well, I can't do that, I'm just a failure in that area. Remember, Peter also failed catastrophically, but God still used him. So, let go of your future. We're going to learn some lessons from Peter. I'll say Paul. When I was writing it down, I kept writing Paul when I meant Peter. It's just too many P's. So we're going to learn some lessons from Peter on how to let go of our future and why it's important to do that. So my first point is, let go of your right to choose your future. Now, this is one of the harder points I'm going to bring today, okay, so brace yourself. Let go of the right to choose your future. This is one of the greatest, most difficult lessons I think that Peter had to learn. Now, when we meet Peter, he's a fisherman, and he meets him actually through his brother Andrew, who introduces him to Jesus. Says, oh, we found the Messiah, the anointed one. Now remember, the Jews, they were all waiting for the Messiah. He was this one who was promised that was going to come and rescue them. He was going to establish his government and his rule, his reign. You know, it was something marvelous. This was like, oh, he was the bee's knees, the Messiah was. And Peter is told that they found him. And then a little later we read that Jesus, while he's passing by the Sea of Galilee and he sees Peter and some others fishing, he calls them, he says, come and follow me. You know, you're not going to be fishers anymore. You're going to be fishers of men, not fishers of fish. That's not how it is. That's my version. You're going to be fishers of fish and fishers of men. Lizzie's paraphrase. I'm sure you all want to run out and buy that version of the Bible. Come and follow me. And he does. Immediately, he leaves everything behind and he follows Jesus. It's like, wow, that's awesome. You know, you can see right here at the beginning, Peter had this ability to let go of his choice of future and follow Jesus's. Or at least so it seems that way, doesn't it? You just think, wow, he just let it all go and he just went. That's amazing, isn't it? And you know, we've all been in those meetings, haven't we, when prophecy is being given out and someone is picked, you there. And you think, ooh. The person goes down and prophesies over them. Oh, God is going to expand you and you're going to have this ministry, you're going to go across the world, you're going to see millions saved. And oh, wow. Oh, Oh, and that person's like, oh, I receive that I like that future. I receive it in Jesus' name. Or maybe you've received a prophecy like that yourself, or God in your own private time has revealed something of your future to you, and it's been good and it's been exciting, and you thought, oh, yes. And it might be a little bit scary, but it's certainly very positive. So you think, wow, oh, I receive, yes, I choose the Lord's future for me. Yes. And we can seem really quite righteous and spiritual about that. If anybody said, oh, are you willing to do the Lord? Oh, yes, I'm willing to do the Lord's will. Because we've got this imagination of this wonderful, great future that is ahead of us. And so, of course, we choose it. Yes, we want that for ourselves. Yes. And in some ways, this is a little bit like Peter. He's got his own imagination of what it meant to be a follower of the Messiah, what it meant to be right up close to the Messiah. He's the promised one. He's going to come and rescue them. He's going to rule and reign. And wow, I'm going to get to be right there along with, yes, I will follow you, Jesus. Now, don't get me wrong. There will have been a lot of sacrifice in that. Leaving his livelihood, leaving his family, everything. There was a big sacrifice in that. But my point is that when the future that is presented to us is good, there's an openness to receive it. Now later on, after Peter has actually denied Jesus and Jesus has been crucified and raised from the dead, he meets Peter and the disciples again later on. And Peter's at this point is low because of what he's done, and he's ashamed, and he's cursed Jesus and rejected him and everything. And Jesus comes, and they're out fishing, and he starts a fire on the side, and he calls them to him, and they come, and he cooks them breakfast. And he begins to ask Peter if he loves him. And Peter's saying, yeah, I love you. And he asks him again. Yeah. And then he asks him again, and we can read that in John 21, 17 to 19. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him. Just by the way, for those of you confused, Simon is Peter, and Peter is Simon, and Simon Peter, and he's got different names, but it's all about Peter. Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. Now here comes the wonderful prophecy of his future. Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, follow me. So the first time, Jesus says, follow me, and he just goes. But now, Jesus tells him about his future. The future that Jesus has planned for him, prepared in advance for him. It's not a good one, is it? Who of us here would like that prophecy? Someone to come out and pick us and say, yes, you will be bound and people will lead you where you do not want to go. Oh, do I choose this future? But isn't life with Jesus meant to be about abundance and love and joy and victory, as we've heard this morning, and peace and, all these promises, and that's the life with Jesus. That's what he's got for me. Well, actually, yes, that's true, but also we are taught very clearly in the Bible that a life following after Jesus is also about hardship and persecution and pain and suffering. And for Peter, actually, it meant death. We know that he was crucified, and it said that he was crucified upside down because he didn't feel worthy to be crucified the same as Jesus. Suffering, pain, hardship, death. Ugh. Would you choose that future? If Jesus presented you with that future, would you embrace it? Yes. You see, it's only when it's something challenging like that it really reveals whether we have chosen to follow after Jesus, or whether really we're just doing what we like to do. But in order for us to let go of our future and to truly give it into his hands, it means that we give up the right to choose whether that is good or whether it is bad, easy or difficult. And that doesn't really sit well in our Western world. It's not something we really like to think about. That maybe in your future and in my future, God's plan for you is actually hardship and difficulty, pain, maybe even death, martyrdom. None of us like to think that. But actually, if we truly are followers of God, then we should have laid down our lives anyway. Let go of your right to choose your future. Now, I realise that's some sort of tough stuff to take on board. Like, oh. But it really is an important question for us all. Am I choosing this future with God because I think it means all goodness and wonderfulness for me? Or am I choosing it simply because I've laid down my right to choose for myself? And instead I'm going to follow his plan. And I love Peter's response when Jesus gives him this prophecy. He doesn't go, oh yes, yes, I'll follow you. If we carry on, it says in verse 20 of John 21, Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved was following them. This was the one who had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and had said, Lord, who is going to betray you? When Peter saw him, he asked, Lord, what about him? Jesus answered, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is it to you? You must follow me. Ooh. I love these exchanges that Peter and Jesus have, because they're just so interesting. You know, he's always just coming out with something and Jesus is having to sort of really just cut him down. So Jesus gives him this prophecy that's really, really difficult and really awful. And the first thing he thinks is not like, oh yes, I choose to follow you. Well, what about the others? You're going to ask it of them as well? Well, what about John there? The one who supposedly loves you the most? Well, what about him? And Jesus just says, never mind him. This is what I've laid out for you, and you must follow me. Oh. And we know that Peter goes on to follow Jesus. But it's not surprising that he had that reaction. Who wouldn't? You know, oh, I don't want that kind of a future. But Paul laid down his right to choose his future, and he gave it into Jesus' hands. And that can seem quite lofty in some ways. Probably many of us in here will not have to lay down our lives, but we don't know that, do we? But I remember, even just in the little details of life, I remember as a teenager, I started to sing, and I love singing, and I imagined that yeah, you know, I'm gonna have a singing career. I really love musicals, and I thought, oh, yeah, I'd really like to do that. And so at school we had various musicals, and the first one that I got involved with, I played a sort of more major part. And then when the second one came round, I thought, oh yes, I'm going. Can't even think of it now. What? Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I've got a terrible memory. So this second one came along, and I thought, oh, I'll go for the lead role. And everyone's saying, yes, Liz, you go for the lead role. And I was sort of planning and practicing the songs for the audition. And then I just felt God say to me, I don't want you to do that. And I thought, but God, you give me this singing voice, and you know, I want to use it. And I just felt, no. You need to lay it down. That's not the future that I've got for you. I thought, oh, it was really hard. It was the first time that Jesus had sort of really, sort of said to me I couldn't have something that I thought I could have. And I remember having to lay it down, and I didn't go for the audition, and people were saying, well, Liz, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you? All that sort of pressure, expectations. And I was like, no, I'm not meant to do this. And instead, another girl took it on, and actually she was amazing, and she actually went on in life to be in musicals and things like that. But for me, even just in that little way, I had to lay down the right to choose there what I thought was in my future. And I had to submit to Jesus and his preferred future. And as you know, I'm not singing in musicals. I'm doing this, which I never in my wildest imagination at that age thought I would be doing, but it's the most fulfilling thing for me to be doing, because it's his plan, it's his way. And I'm sure Peter does not regret following, even though his future that Jesus had planned for him ended in crucifixion. I guarantee you he doesn't regret it. He doesn't regret it, because when we choose to let go of our right, we step into something that is so fulfilling. Even if there's pain and hardship and trial, even crucifixion. Don't ever regret it. So let go of the right to choose your future. The second thing we can learn from Peter is let go of the right to choose the way. So often we can receive something from God, whether it's a good prophecy, bad, whatever, either way. If we've made that step and we've received it and said, okay, I take that on board, we still have to let go of the journey towards it. And I see this so often in church when people have received something from the Lord that they're going to go into this ministry or they're going to do that, and they're coming to me and they're asking and they're sort of pushing and they want me to give them that opportunity they want, but I can see they're not ready. And I can also see that it's not the right way. But there, in their own minds, they thought, no, this is what I've received from the Lord, and I've already planned it out, figured it out, because, we like to control the future. We don't like the uncertainty. We don't like the anxiety. So we've sort of figured it out. Okay, God's given me this promise, and I think, logically thinking, this is how it should work. If I was God, this is how this should pan out in my life. And so we begin to make steps, and we begin to push towards that thing. But actually, we can sometimes be pushing our way, and it isn't God's way at all. It's not the journey that he has planned out for us. Generally speaking, the journey we plan out for ourselves is a straight line from A to B. Shortest route. Zoop, zoop. And his plan is like this. That's my experience. His way is completely different, and we feel like I'm going backwards here, but I thought I was meant, where are we going with this? I'm getting further away. But we have to let go, we have to lay down the right to choose the way, because it gets us into trouble. And this is the problem that Peter had, because in his mind, Jesus has come, he's the Messiah, and he's going to come and rule and reign. But then Jesus starts doing these things that just don't get us from A to B in the shortest distance. He starts putting his life at risk. What's that about? Jesus, we need to keep you safe. He goes to places where he could quite possibly be killed. Don't go there, don't do that. And then Jesus, he begins to talk about, towards the very end, before he's going to be arrested, he starts to talk about the fact that he is going to suffer and he is going to be killed. And Peter thinks, what? No. I am following you. That's my future. You've told me to follow. I'm following. How can I follow you if you're going to die? What's going on with this? Matthew 16, 22 to 23. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said. "This shall never happen to you." Oh, is he God now? He's deciding the way. Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." Whew. No one wants to be called Satan. No Christian wants to be called Satan. But he was doing Satan's work, because Jesus was choosing God's prepared future rather than the future that he would prefer. That's why we see him in the Garden of Gethsemane sweating, saying, "Take this cup away from me, but your will be done." He was having to choose this future. He was having to surrender his will to God's. That was a hard thing for Jesus to do. We so underestimated, "Oh, well, he's the Son of God, so he knew all along that was what was meant to happen." No, this was hard for Jesus to do. And here's Peter coming on trying to take him off. No, don't do that. And Peter's doing it, one, because he loves Jesus, but also because his future is tied up in Jesus' future. He's got a vested interest in Jesus living. "Get behind me, Satan." We need to be careful that we're not so set on our way of getting to somewhere that we actually start doing Satan's work. We can also do this in other people's lives, especially parents with children. We decided what we want, we think our child should do, and we're trying to push them in that direction, even though it isn't really a good fit, but we know that's good for them. You don't want to be an actor, that's not good. You want to do this, you want to be a scientist, you want to be whatever. And we try and push them and control the way. But we've got to let go of our right to choose the way. When God began to speak to me and Mark about moving to Slovakia, I was like, "Ooh, that's not my preferred future." I hadn't even thought about that, actually. And we had to lay down the right to choose the future. We had to receive his choice for our future. But then when we arrived in Slovakia, I thought, "Oh, well, we're called by God now, aren't we? We're walking into that, what he's promised for us. This is going to be good. People are going to be saved and healed, and church is just going to grow." And, you've got all these thoughts about how that way will look. And it wasn't like that at all. The way was really, really hard and really difficult. And I remember at one time thinking, "God, you've called us as missionaries. We can't even be missionaries at the moment because we can barely hold it together. What were you thinking? This is not the right way." Now, I didn't say to get behind me, Satan, thankfully. But, I was trying to control the way and fighting with God over the way that my life should take. But actually, I can see that it had to take that pathway in order for us to be the good missionaries that he needed us to be, in order to do something fruitful, something enduring in Slovakia. He had to take us through that way. There was no other way. Yesterday, we went out for a meal with the other ministers in Biddulph, because the minister from Biddulph Methodist Church is leaving. And so we all went out. And we went on this journey. Now, the place we went to is in Stockton Bruton, so we went all through Brown Edge. And sat-nav is saying, "Turn left." I'm not saying, is it this? And it says teeny tiny little, and I'm like, "Oh, that can't possibly be it," I'm saying. And so we carry on. Anyway, so it says turn left, so we turn down the next left, and it says a sign saying, "This road is not for wide vehicles." I thought, well, that's fine, we're not a wide vehicle. So off we go down this road. Oh my goodness, this is the narrowest road I have ever been. I was so glad I wasn't driving, because I'm not the greatest. And Mark was, and literally either side of the wing mirrors, it was like this, and the sensors in the, and it even just broke at one point. He's like, senses have failed. And then the service light comes on, you know. I can't cope. And we were just snail pacing down this road. All because back then when it said turn left, I said, oh, no, that can't be right. And that could be the problem as well. We keep choosing the way. Jesus is taking us one way. Oh, no, that can't possibly be right. No, Jesus, this will never happen. And all we end up doing is ending up going down an even narrower road that's even harder and more difficult. And we'll still arrive where we need to get because God's good like that and faithful. He takes everything and he turns it around for good. So be encouraged in that. Remember, Peter failed and messed up many times. We do fail and mess up in this. One day we're getting it right, next day we're getting it wrong. Maybe 1 minute we're getting it right and the next minute we're getting it wrong. That's how it goes. But the important thing is to make sure that we keep surrendering our right on a daily basis to God. Our right to choose the way. And the last thing is let go of the right to choose the timing. We want everything now, or maybe even yesterday. You know, we're just instant society, everything. We want it now. I received a prophecy when I was 21, and I still don't see the fulfillment of it yet. And I remember when I received it at the time, I imagined, it might take a couple of years. You know, I can wait a couple of years. And I'm still here now, and yeah, I've moved on a journey, I can see that, but I'm still not there yet. It's like, when's it going to happen? I'm getting older now. I'm starting actually to feel it now that I'm actually getting older. All the things that my mother used to say to me, when you get older, you know. I actually understand what she's saying now. You feel the cold more when you're older. Can't eat late, or can't eat that late at night. She said, can't. I just think, oh my goodness. And now I'm the same, can't eat that late at night. You turn into your parents, don't you? I'm feeling that. I'm thinking, when's it going to happen? And Peter, he was the same. As in John 13, where it talks about Jesus explaining to them before his arrest that he's going to suffer and he's going to be killed, it says this that it doesn't say in others. John 13, 36 to 38. Simon Peter asked him, Lord, where are you going? Yes, he's been saying to them he's going to go away and they're not going to be able to follow him. And he says, Lord, where are you going? Jesus replied, where I am going, you cannot follow now, but you will follow later. Peter asked, Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. Then Jesus answered, will you really lay down your life for me? Very truly I tell you, before the cock crows, you will disown me 3 times. In Peter's mind at that point, Jesus is saying, you can't come with me. He's like, what? I'm ready now, you've called me to follow you, I'm here, I'm ready, I can do it. No, Peter. Oh, yes, I'm ready, Jesus, I really am ready. Are you ready to lay down your life? Yes, I'm ready. But we know that he wasn't ready. He thought he was ready to lay down his life. That was actually the journey that he would have to take in order to follow Jesus, which he didn't know at that point. But Jesus knew that he would have to be willing to lay down his life in order to walk in the future that he'd planned for him. But no, I'm ready now, yes, I'm ready. No, Peter, you're not ready. And so Peter goes away, I can imagine, I am ready now. We never understand it, do we, when we feel that we're ready. Something should be happening now, and it's not happening now. And so often we presume, it's because that person doesn't like me, that's why they're stopping me from... we sort of put it on the other person. But we just don't realise that they can see quite plainly that we're not ready. But we've just got a complete blind spot. And Peter had a mega blind spot. I'm ready. And there we find him not long after. With Jesus. Oh, no, I don't know Jesus. It's funny that Jesus says he'll do it 3 times, and I wonder whether it's 3 times because each time Peter failed, he thought, no, I am ready. I'm following Jesus. Yeah, I failed that one time, but I'll do it this time. I won't deny him this time. And the second time the question comes, where are you with? No, I don't know him. Oh, no, but I am ready. Okay, I am ready. And then the third time it comes. And when the third challenge comes, he curses as well. And it says that he left and wept bitterly. I'm ready. He wasn't ready. And he failed so dramatically. He wept bitterly. So often we can feel like the time is now. That thing that we've been believing for, it should be now. And we can push for it. But we need to let go of the timing. We have to let go of the right to choose the timing. God knows all things. He loves you. He knows when you're ready. He knows you better than you know yourself. He knows all your blind spots. He knows all your weaknesses. Peter had to go through this very painful experience so that when Jesus meets him later on, once he's been resurrected, and he challenges him with this really unpleasant future, that Peter is able to make the decision to follow because he felt the pain of when he didn't. He'll never forget that pain and shame that he felt when he rejected Jesus, and to see him crucified. You can't imagine what Peter must have gone through in that in-between time. But it was essential in order to bring him to that place where actually he was ready. And there are things that we just have to go through first that make us ready. Whether our future is all glittery and sparkling or whether it's more difficult. See, he's a good God, and he will make sure that we're prepared for whatever it is. He won't just place us in something unprepared, but he goes ahead of us and he prepares a way for us. Because he's good. And he wants to make sure that even if that future that he's planned for you is difficult and hard, that you are able to enjoy it. That you are strong and you are ready. Because his desire is not to crush us, to destroy us. That is not his desire, but that he will be glorified to great measure through us. So we have to let go of the right to choose the timing. I know that I've pushed, and at times, I know in Slovakia with the church, when we felt that we should be meeting in a particular place, or just any place actually. We always struggled for a place to meet as a church, and it just seemed like always the doors were shutting on us. It was always really hard, and oh God, but you've sent us to do this. Surely the door must open. Surely, how are we going to grow? And pushing, it was on, and the worry and the anxiety. Oh, why is it not happening? Oh, but it should be happening now. And it didn't. And actually, just this year, a few months ago, the doors have just flung open wide for the church in Shella for a place to meet. The mayor actually sold it for them for next to nothing. Just flung wide open because the timing is now. It wasn't before, but I thought it was. I can see the church was not ready then, but it's ready now. We have to let go of the right to choose the timing. So we have to let go of the right to choose our future. We have to let go of the right to choose our way. And we have to let go of the right to choose the timing. I just want to read something to you it's actually the introduction to the book of 1 Peter. Like a write-up before explaining about, because obviously Peter wrote this book later on. About 1 Peter. Everyone needs grace to overcome life's hurdles. For some, they need to overcome a difficult marriage or the frustration of children who have wandered away. For others, it may be their limitations and hardships. 1 Peter is the book of strengthening grace and triumphant hope. There is an abundance of hopeful grace found within the verses of this book to set you free. You are a victorious overcomer, and God's grace is our fuel to empower our hearts to soar. Peter was the first preacher to bring the gospel of Christ to the Jews in Jerusalem. At Pentecost, he stood fearlessly and told the thousands gathered around him that they had denied the Holy One of God and crucified their Messiah. Yet just 50 days earlier, the Apostle Peter, while Jesus was being tried by Pilate, denied that he ever knew Jesus. 3 times he succumbed to the weakness of his flesh, but Jesus had prophesied all this beforehand and gave him both a promise and a commission. I have prayed for you, Peter, that you would stay faithful to me no matter what comes. Remember this, after you have turned back to me and have been restored, make it your life mission to strengthen the faith of your brothers. Jesus told Peter that his life mission after his resurrection would be to strengthen the faith of believers worldwide. So you will discover that there is unusual grace upon Paul's letters to strengthen you in your faith. Don't be surprised if after reading these letters you become emboldened to persevere, empowered to overcome, and encouraged to remain faithful to Christ. The grace that restored Peter after his fall is also on Peter's letters to restore every believer and impart to them overcoming grace. Peter was able to do this because he let go. He let go. He let go of the right to choose his future. He let go of the right to choose the way, and he let go of the right to choose the timing. So be challenged this morning to let go, let it go. But be encouraged if you feel like, actually, no, I've been sort of trying to manipulate. Don't worry, that's what Peter did too. But look what he went on to do. He now encourages all of us and reminds us of the abundant grace of God. There is abundant grace for each and every one of us this morning. So if you find yourself in that place, worrying and anxious about the future, just lay it down. Bring it to Jesus, lay it down. Let go. Let go. Because there's a freedom and a joy that is yours in Jesus Christ when you'll let go of control. If we just bow our heads, we're going to just end. I just want to give an opportunity for anybody who doesn't know Jesus, who isn't a follower of Jesus. I want you to know that following Jesus is an awesome adventure, even in the hardships and the trials. I can't promise you that following after Jesus means that your life is going to be all wonderful and honky-dory, that you're just going to have the most amazing, trouble-free life, because that's not what we're promised in Scriptures. But I can promise you this: you will find fulfillment for your life, joy beyond measure, a hope that will steady you and comfort you and help you in everything that you go through. You will find a faithful friend, a comforter, a helper in time of all your need. And you are promised an awesome future even after you die.